everyone. So our next topic is division of polynomials. And this is something that maybe a few of you have seen before. I think a lot of you haven't, or those of you that have might still be not quite comfortable with it. All right, so the one thing that I'm assuming you know, that you should know, is how to add or subtract or multiply polynomials. Okay. But let's just make sure, right? So I'm going to do a very quick review of adding polynomials. So let's suppose we want to add 8x squared minus 7x plus 2 plus, let's do 4x squared plus 3x plus 8. Right? So again, you've done this before. You know that you're just grouping the like terms, the terms with the same exponents, right? So this is 8x squared plus 4x squared, right? And then plus negative 7x plus 3x, and then plus 2 plus 8. So 12x squared plus, this will be negative 4x, oops, that's an x, and then plus 2 plus 8 is 10. Right? So 12x squared minus 4x plus 10. Right? And in fact, it might be easier to write them vertically. So 8x squared plus 4x, 8x squared minus 7x plus 2, and you're going to add it to 4x squared plus 3x plus 8. So when you see it that way, it's, I think, even easier. 8x squared plus 4x squared is 12x squared. Negative 7x plus 3x is, negative 4x, right? And then 2 plus 8 is 10. So, yep, same answer, right? Same answer as before. Okay, so that's adding. What about subtracting? Okay, so we're going to subtract 7x cubed plus 4x squared minus 8 minus 2x cubed plus 6x squared minus 3x minus 13. Okay, so I think we probably want to write this vertically again. So we'll do 7x cubed plus 4x squared. Now be careful, right? It's minus 8, but there's also a missing 0x here, right? And then we're going to subtract 2x cubed plus 6x squared minus 3x minus 13. Okay, so 7x cubed minus 2x cubed, 5x cubed. No problem there, right? 4x squared minus 6x squared is negative 2x squared. Remember, we're subtracting, not adding. So if you thought plus 10x squared, yep, you're adding, not subtracting. So be careful of that, right? This is minus 2x squared. And then 0x minus negative 3x, yep, positive 3x. Right? And then negative 8 minus negative 13, positive 5. Okay, so I hope that helps. I hope that makes it a little bit easier. If you're still confused about, wait, isn't this negative 21 or something, right? You're not adding negative 8 plus negative 13. It's negative 8 minus 13, minus negative 13, right? So again, confusing. So I'm going to suggest the following, right? So instead of subtracting the whole thing, we're going to subtract each term, right? In other words, we're just going to distribute the negative sign here to all 4 terms. And when we do that, what do we get? We get negative 2x cubed, negative 6x squared, plus 3x, and then plus 13. Okay. So now what are we doing? Now we're adding, right? Now we're adding these. So when you add 7x cubed plus a negative 2x cubed, you get 5x cubed, right? 4x squared plus a negative 6x squared is negative 2x squared. 0x plus 3x is 3x. And negative 8 plus 13, yep, positive 5. Same answer. Right? Same answer, but a lot easier to add than to subtract, right? Because this 8 minus negative 13, or negative 8 minus negative 13, probably confused a few of you, right? It's negative 8 plus 13, which is 5. Right? So don't get confused with negative 8 plus negative 13, which would indeed be negative 21. But that's not the answer here, right? So yeah, subtraction is a little bit trickier than adding. It just means you're adding the opposite, adding the negative. So that's going to come in very crucial later on when we do polynomial division, right? All right, how about multiplying? Okay, so 4x squared times 2x cubed minus 8x squared plus 7x minus 3. Okay, so this, right, you're just using the distributive property here. Right, in other words, a times b plus c is just a times b plus a times c. So here's my a, the 4x squared, and it's not just b plus c, it's b plus c plus d plus e, and so on, right? So all you're doing is multiplying 4x squared, right, times 2x cubed plus 4x squared times negative 8x squared plus 4x squared times 7x plus 4x squared times negative 3. And you don't have to write all this out. If you're comfortable with doing this in your head, that's fine, right? After all, 4 times 2 is 8, and x squared times x cubed is x to the 5, right? It's 2 plus 3, not 2 times 3, right? 4 times negative 8 is negative 32, and then 2 plus 2 is 4, right? So x to the 4. And then 4x squared times 7x. So 4 times 7 is 28, and x squared times x is x cubed. Right? And then finally, 4x squared times negative 3 is going to be negative 12x squared. And so that's it, right? All right, let's try another one. Okay, so how about x minus 5 times x squared minus 7x minus 8? Okay, so this, when you're not just multiplying a monomial, but a binomial times another polynomial. So here's how I would do it, right? I would start with the x and multiply x times the entire second factor, right? And then the negative 5, right, times the entire second factor here. Right? And that way you're doing what we did up here, but you're just doing it twice, right? Once for the x and once for the negative 5. So multiplying by x, we get x times x squared is x cubed, minus 7 times x squared, and then minus 8 times x. Right? And now multiplying by negative 5, you have negative 5 times x squared. Right? Negative 5 times negative 7x is positive 35x. Right? And then negative 5 times negative 8 is positive 40. Okay. However, we're not done. Right? We're not done because we have like terms. We have negative 7x squared, negative 5x squared, right? So the x cubed is the only degree 3 term. So negative 7x squared minus 5x squared is negative 12x squared, right? And then we have negative 8x plus 35x. So 35 minus 8, yep, it's 27. So positive 27x. And then the only constant is the plus 40, so positive 40. So I hope that helps. All right, so that's adding, subtracting, and multiplying. Now we get to division. Okay, so there's essentially two versions of division, polynomial division. One is by a monomial, right? In other words, a single term. So if you're dividing by a monomial, right? In other words, the denominator is just one term, right? It's not, 4x squared plus 1. That would be a binomial. That would be two terms. So that would not work here, right? So when you're dividing by a monomial, it's pretty easy because you're just dividing each term by 4x squared, right? And be careful because sometimes they'll write the question this way. They'll write it in parentheses, 8x to the 5 minus 20x to the 4 minus 32x cubed plus 12x squared, right? Divided by 4x squared. Right? Either way, it's the same question, right? But when you see it like this, I would tend to write it this way. Okay. So I just copied that down here. Right. Yep. So all we're going to do is split this up into 4 separate fractions, right? 8x to the 5 divided by 4x squared, right? And then minus 20x to the 4 also divided by 4x squared. And then minus 32x to the 3 divided by 4x to the 2. And then plus 12x squared divided by 4x squared. Right? So the coefficients you divide. 8 divided by 4 is 2. The exponents, however, right, you don't divide 5 by 2 here. Remember, you're using the exponent rules. You subtract the exponents. Right? This is 5 minus 2. Or just x to the 3. Right? Minus 20 divided by 4 is 5. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. Right? And then negative 32 divided by 4 is 8. And then 3 minus 2 is 1. But, x to the 1 is really just x, so you don't need the 1 there. Plus 12 divided by 4 is 3. And then this is x to the 2 minus 2, which is x to the 0. But remember, x to the 0 is just 1. And 3 times 1 is just 3. So there we go. Right. Pretty easy. Right. I'll let you try another one. Okay, 14y to the 8 plus 35y to the 6 minus 28y to the 5 divided by 7y cubed. So if you need a hint, remember I would write it vertically as a fraction. That's the first thing I would do. Right. And then you just split them up and do 3 separate fractions, right? So 14y to the 8 divided by 7y cubed plus 35y to the 6 divided by 7y cubed, and then minus 28y to the 5 divided by 7y cubed. So divide the coefficients, but subtract the exponents. Right, so 2y to the 5 plus 5y to the 3 minus 4y to the 2. So I hope that helps. I'll give you one more, and then we'll move on to the really difficult stuff. Okay, 15p to the 7 r to the 9 minus 21p to the 5 r to the 8 minus 36p to the 3 r to the 7 plus 6p r to the 6, all divided by 3p r to the 4th. Okay, everyone got it? So, this is one you can almost do in your head, but I'm going to write it out. There's really only one step to do, right? So 15p to the 7 r to the 9 all over 3p r to the 4, right? And then minus 21p to the 5 r to the 8 over 3p r to the 4. minus 36p cubed r to the 7 divided by the same 3p r to the 4, and then plus 6p r to the 6 all over 3p r to the 4. Right? So 15 divided by 3 is 5. P to the 7 divided by p is p to the 6. R to the 9 divided by r to the 4 is r to the 5. Minus 7, p to the 4, r to the 4, right? I hope you didn't divide 8 divided by 4, right? You subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4, right? Minus 12p squared r cubed plus 2, and then the p's cancel, right? You can say p to the 0, but remember, p to the 0 is just 1. So you're just going to have r squared in the last term. And that's it, right? So yeah, it's really just 2 short steps here. Right? Okay, so now we get to the hard part, right? We're going to be doing division by a polynomial. And by a polynomial here, I typically mean a binomial, right? 2 terms. So a binomial has 2 terms, right? And so here's the process, right? It looks like it's simple. It looks like it's just three steps. But these steps, right, might have to be repeated. Okay? So each, right, steps 1, 2, and 3 just might be 1 round. And we might have to go through several rounds, right? So yeah, let's just do an example. I'm going to go through it step by step, right, as slow as I can. And hopefully, hopefully you'll get the idea, right? And again, we'll do several examples, but each one will take a considerable amount of time. Okay, so here's our first example, right? We're going to divide 4x cubed minus 9x squared minus 5x plus 7 divided by x minus 3. Okay, and just be aware that in some cases it'll be written as a fraction, but it's done the same way. Okay, so the point is that doesn't help here, right? You don't want to split this up like you did when you're dividing by a monomial, right? Because this is not 1 term, this is 2 terms, right? If you're just dividing by the x, if the negative 3 weren't there, then it would be easy. But yes, doing this does not help whatsoever. Right? So don't do that, because it doesn't help. It just makes it worse. So yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to do this using long division, right? And this is long division up here. So the denominator, right, becomes the the divisor. So x minus 3 is the divisor. That's on the outside. And we're dividing by, x minus 3. So what are we dividing? We're dividing 4x cubed minus 9x squared minus 5x plus 7. Right? So, so the numerator is sometimes called the dividend. It's the thing you're dividing. And the denominator, right, or the thing you're dividing by is sometimes called the divisor. Okay, so the divisor here is x minus 3. The dividend is 4x cubed minus 9x squared minus 5x plus 7. Okay? All right, so step 1. Divide the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. Okay, so the first term of the dividend is 4x cubed. The first term of the divisor is just x. Okay, so step 1 just looks like this. 4x cubed divided by x. Right? And this is something you can do in your head. I wrote it out over here if in case you want to. But this is just 4x squared, right? You subtract the exponents, 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, so 4x squared is already part of the answer, right? Right, so we're not trying to do this all at once. There's no way to do this all at once, right? All we're doing is dividing just the first two terms of each. Right, so that's step one. Right, step two is to multiply, right, the thing we just got, the 4x squared, times the divisor. Okay, so I'm going to do that down here. We'll multiply 4x squared times x minus 3. Right? And this is something we just learned how to do, right? You're just distributing 4x squared times x, and 4x squared times negative 3. Okay, so 4x squared times x is 4x cubed. I should use the same color here. Sorry. Yep, so 4x cubed. And then 4x squared times negative 3 is negative 12x squared. All right, just distribute. Sorry. So yeah, this is step 2. Step 3. Now this is the hard part. We have to subtract the lowest two rows, right? We're going to subtract this from this. And that might look pretty easy here. After all, it's just going to be, right, 4x cubed minus 4x cubed is 0. But what's negative 9x squared minus negative 12x squared? So that's going to be a little confusing. Right? Some of you might be thinking negative 21x squared. And if you're thinking that, well, you got it wrong. Right? Remember, we kind of did this earlier, right? This is negative 9 minus negative 12. It's negative 9 plus 12. Right? So this is actually going to be 3x squared. So yeah, confusing, right? So here's my suggestion. Before you write, so what we did here is we took the double negative, two negatives make a positive. So I would flip all the signs, right? Instead of a positive 4, make it a negative 4. Instead of a negative 12, we make it a positive 12. Right, but now we're not subtracting, now we're just adding. 4 plus negative 4 is still 0. Negative 9 plus 12, yep, is positive 3. So positive 3x squared, right? Except it shouldn't be yellow, it should be in blue, right? Plus 3x squared. Okay. Right, and then this is just 0 and 0, so negative 5x plus 0 is still negative 5x, and 7 plus 0 is still 7. Okay, and of course we don't need the 0 here in front. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just not necessary. So, all right. So that's step 3, right? That's step 3, going back up here. And notice that it looks like we're done, except this is only the first round, right? We have to repeat steps 1 to 3 here. So step 1, divide the first term of the dividend, or in this case, the first term here, by the first term of the divisor. Okay, so what we're dividing is 3x squared divided by x. Okay, so this is round 2. 3x squared divided by x, of course, is just 3x. And that's going to be the next term of the quotient. Got it? Okay, step 2. We take the 3x, right, and we multiply by x minus 3. Oops. Sorry, 3x times the divisor x minus 3. So the 3x from here, and then the divisor is still x minus 3. So when you multiply 3x times x, you get 3x squared. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. And then subtract. Or, better yet, if you take my suggestion, you're going to add the opposite. So make this a negative 3, make this a positive 9, right? Because now it's a lot easier to add. 3x squared plus negative 3x squared is 0x squared, right? Which is just 0. And then negative 5x plus 9x is positive 4x. 7 plus 0 is 7. Right? Yeah, so if you got negative 14x, you added, but you didn't add the opposite. You added the negative 5 plus negative 9 is negative 14. So that would be wrong. Okay. Easy mistake. A lot of people make that mistake. So don't feel bad if you got negative 14x. But unfortunately, it's wrong, and it's going to lead you to the wrong answer. So again, be careful. All right, so that's step 3 again. But now we're not done. We have to repeat. We take the 4x here, that's the first term here, the 4x, and just divide by the same x. Okay, so step 1 again, 4x divided by x. Well, x divided by x is 1, so that's just 4. So the next term of the quotient is just 4. Right. And then we multiply 4 times x minus 3. Remember, that's step 2 here. Okay. And again, that's something you can do in your head. 4 times x plus 4 times negative 3. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Okay. And step 3, now we subtract. Okay, so 4x minus 4x is 0 again. And 7 minus negative 12, right, remember, is really 7 plus 12. So flip the signs and then add. 7 plus 12 is 19. Right, it's not negative 5. If you got negative 5, you forgot to flip the signs first. Okay, so that's it, right? Now, there's nothing else to bring down here, right? So that means we're done. We have our constant here, 19. Once you're down to that, you're done with the division. Okay, so what's the answer? Well, right, what I have up here in yellow, this is the quotient, right? This is the quotient, so that's the answer, right? However, we have a remainder, right? The remainder is 19. So when we want to write the answer, we're going to write the answer as the quotient, 4x squared plus 3x plus 4, plus the remainder, 19, divided by the divisor, x minus 3. Oops, minus 3 here. So that's the answer. Okay, but be careful. The quotient is just the 4x squared plus 3x plus 4. The remainder is just the 19. Right? But this is how we typically write the answer, right? It's no different than when you just do ordinary long division, right? If we do, 3,172 divided by 5, right? Well, you can work it out, right? So 31 divided by 5 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. When you subtract, you just get 1. Bring down the 7. 17 divided by 5 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Right? Subtract. 17 minus 15 is 2. Bring down the next 2. And then 22 divided by 5 is 4. Multiply 4 times 5, and you get 20. When you subtract, right, you just get 2. 2 is the remainder, right? So 3172 divided by 5 is 364, that's the quotient, plus 2 over 5. Right? And for numbers, you write it as a mixed numeral, 634 and 2/5, but it really means 634 plus 2 over 5. Yeah, so don't forget the plus here. You can't do 4 times 19 over x minus 3, right? So yeah, I know this was a long one. This is a lot to think about, but I went through it step by step. Right? So I hope that helps. But I'll tell you what, I'll do one more just like this, and then hopefully you can do some of the others Okay, here's the second example. We have 6x cubed minus 17x squared plus 16x, oops, I forgot the x here, 16x minus 8. Right. All divided by 3x minus 4. Okay, and keep in mind that, of course, they can also write the question this way, 6x cubed minus 17, let's try that again, minus 17x squared plus 16x minus 8 divided by 3x minus 4. Okay, so same problem, but either way, right, you're going to have to write it out using long division. The divisor is 3x minus 4, and the thing you're dividing, the dividend, is 6x cubed minus 17x squared plus 16x minus 8. Okay, step 1, right? So step 1 is to divide this first term by this first term. And if you have to write it out, it's just 6x cubed divided by 3x. Right, so 2x squared. So that's already part of the answer. That's just the first step, right? And then step 2 is we're going to multiply the 2x squared times the divisor 3x minus 4. Right? So we get 6x cubed minus 8x squared. And now we subtract. Or better yet, add the opposite. So flip the signs, make this a negative 6, make this a positive 8. And now this should be easier. We just get 6x cubed minus 6x cubed is 0. Negative 17x squared plus 8x squared is negative 9x squared. Right? Okay. All right, and don't forget to bring down the 16x minus 8. However, in the next step, we're only dividing the negative 9x squared by the 3x. Right? So step 1, negative 9x squared divided by 3x is just negative 3x. Okay, so that's the next term of the quotient. And then step 2, we take the negative 3x and we multiply by the divisor 3x minus 4. Okay, so you should get negative 9x squared plus 12x, subtract, or better yet, add the opposite, right? So, yep, you don't want to get 28x here, right? That's adding, but it's not adding the opposite, right? Because you don't want to get negative 18x squared either, right? You want to get 0 for the first term here, right? So, yep, so flip the signs, make this a positive 9, and then either cross it out and make it a negative, or if you're doing this in pencil, that's a little easier. You can just erase it and make it a negative, right? Yeah, so I think that's the first time we had to change a positive to a negative, right? So yeah, just do the best you can, right? All right, negative 9x squared plus 9x squared is, again, 0. And 16x plus negative 12x is just 4x, right? Minus 8. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be, in the next round, we're going to take 4x divided by 3x. So the x's cancel, but unfortunately we get a fraction, 4 over 3. All right, this is not usually going to happen, but this is essentially my fault. I didn't intend for that to happen. But okay, so you get 4 over 3 for the constants, right? Okay, step 2, you multiply 4 over 3 times 3x minus 4. Okay, so if you do that, you're going to get, well, 12x divided by 3, right, is 4x. And then 4 times negative 4 is negative 16 over 3. Right? So we're almost done. Flip the signs and add. So don't forget to flip the signs. Right. And now when we add these, we get 0, and then negative 8 plus 16 over 3. Right, so our common denominator here is 3. So multiply, so see what I did here? I just multiplied top and bottom by 3. Right, so that's where I got the negative 24 over 3 plus 16 over 3. This is just negative 8 over 3. Oops, sorry, negative 8 over 3. And that's our remainder, right? That's our remainder. So our final answer for this problem should be 2x squared minus 3x plus 4 over 3, right? That's our quotient, plus, and then negative 8 over 3 divided by 3x minus 4. Okay. Yeah, so this one did not go quite as planned because I did not intend to get fractions here, but that's what happens if you get fractions. You just have to deal with adding and subtracting fractions in some cases. All right. All right, on to the next one. And here are the steps 1, 2, and 3 again. All right, so here's our next example, right? So we want to divide x to the 4th minus 3x cubed plus 5x minus 2 divided by x plus 2. So once again, we have to write this out as a long division problem, right? Because you're dividing by 2 terms, x and 2. So that's the divisor. And then for the dividend, let me try that again. I'm going to make it a little bit straighter here. There we go. We have x to the 4 minus 3x to the 3. But notice we're missing x squared, right? I mean, we're missing it, so we should include 0x squared plus 5x, right? It's a 5 minus 2. Okay, so you might be asking, why even bother writing 0x squared here? If it's just 0, why don't we ignore it like we did up here, like in the question? So that's a good question, and the answer is to create, right, a column with just the x squares. We need this essentially a placeholder for the x squares. If you go back to the previous examples, right, all the columns lined up, right? The first column was just x to the 4th, then x to the 3, then x to the 2, then x to the 1, and then just the numbers, right? So yeah, we really do need the 0x squared here, right? If you forget that, it's going to be a mess. And very likely you'll get it wrong too, right, if you're not careful. So I include the 0x squared as a placeholder, and that'll make this a little bit easier. All right, step 1. You divide the first term of each, right? X to the 4th divided by x is just x cubed. So that's step 1. Step 2 is to multiply the x cubed by x plus 2. Right? So you're going to get x to the 4th plus 2x cubed. And now the hard part, right? Now we have to subtract. Right? So when we're going to subtract, we flip the signs. We make this a negative x to the 4th. We make this a negative 2x cubed. Take away the plus sign here, right? So now we add, we just get 0. And then negative 3x cubed plus negative 2x cubed is negative 5x cubed, right? Not negative 1x cubed. All right, 0x squared plus 0 is still 0x squared, right? Plus 5x plus 0, oops, that's 5. And then negative 2 plus 0 is negative 2. Okay, so far? Right. round 2. Round 2 says we're going to divide the first term here by the first term here. So negative 5x cubed divided by x, so negative 5x squared. Right, so that's the next term in the quotients. All right, step 2. We're going to multiply negative 5x squared times x plus 2. And we write the result underneath here, right? All right, so negative 5x squared times x is negative 5x cubed. Negative 5x squared times 2 is negative 10x squared. See, this is why we needed the 0x squared. Because if you didn't write it, very likely, if this weren't here, you would put the negative 10x squared under the 5x. And that's going to be a disaster because these are not like terms. They don't have the same exponent. So if you try to subtract these, it's not going to work, right? So, yeah, the negative 10x squared goes under the 0x squared. That's why we needed the 0x squared, right? All right. Step 3, flip the signs and add. This becomes a plus, this becomes a plus. And now when we add, we get something nice. We get 0x cubed, right? And then 10x squared. Right. And then 5x plus 0 is 5x. Right, 5. And then negative 2 plus 0 is still negative 2. All right, round 3, right? Back to step 1. Step 1 is divide the 10x squared by x. So 10x squared divided by x is just 10x. So that's the next term of the quotients, positive 10x. Right. Step 2, if you remember, is to multiply. We're multiplying the positive 10x times x plus 2. Right? So we get 10x squared plus 20x. Okay. Step 3, don't forget to flip the signs. So this is minus 10x squared minus 20x. So not plus anymore, minus 20x. So we get 0x squared and then negative 15x minus 2. Okay, so that was step 3, right? So I think we're on round 4 already. Round 4 is to go back to step 1, divide the negative 15x by the x. Oops. Right, yeah, the x's cancel, you just get negative 15. Right. So this tells me that we're on the last round. We're almost done, right? Once you have that constant, right, we're almost done. So that's step 1. Step 2, multiply the negative 15 times x plus 2. So that's negative 15x minus 30. Right, subtract, or better yet, add the opposite. These are both negative. Change them to positive. So flip the signs, and now just add, right? Negative 15x plus 15x is 0x, which is 0. And negative 2 plus 30 is positive 28. So we know that's our remainder. Right? And this up here is our quotient. Yep. So when you're doing this in Connect Math, just realize sometimes they'll ask for the quotient and the remainder. Sometimes they'll ask for the answer, in which case you're going to have to write this as, let's see, x cubed minus 5x squared, right, plus 10x minus 15, and then plus the remainder 28 divided by the divisor x plus 2. That's right. So that's the complete answer here. Okay. So, yep, this is how it works when you have your missing terms. If you're missing 0x squared, right, notice there's a missing 0x squared in here. You better include that in the long division, in the dividend. Because if you don't, all I can say is good luck. You have to squeeze things in pretty tight here, or you're just going to end up adding the wrong terms and you'll get the wrong answers. So be careful. Yeah, this is something you don't see very often, right? A 0x or a 0x squared. But in some problems, that's what happens, right? So include the missing zeros, right? The missing 0 terms. All right, so I think I'll let you try one now. Okay, so next example, divide 3x cubed plus 8x squared minus 5x minus 6 all over 3x plus 2. Okay, so I'll get you started, right? You're just going to take the 3x plus 2 as the divisor, and the dividend is 3x cubed plus 8x squared minus 5x minus 6, right? No missing terms here, right? And that's usually the case. But again, if there's ever a 0, make sure you include it, right? Okay, all right, so yeah, try this, right? This should be a pretty standard problem if you just go step by step. Okay, well, 3x cubed divided by 3x, right? That's just 1x squared. Right? So that's step 1. Step 2, now we have to multiply x squared times the 3x plus 2. So that's going to give us 3x cubed plus 2x squared. Right? And then subtract. Right, so here you don't really have to flip the signs. We know we get 0x cubed plus 6x squared, right? 8 minus 2 is 6. But just to be consistent, right, I'm always going to do this. I'm going to flip the positive 3 to a negative 3 and flip the positive 2x squared to a negative 2x squared. And again, that just should make it a little bit easier here. So you get 0x cubed, and then 8 plus negative 2, positive 6x squared, right? And then negative 5x minus 6. All right, so that's round 1. Round 2, right, divide the 6x squared by 3x. So step 1, 6x squared divided by 3x is just 2x, positive 2x. All right, step 2, multiply that positive 2x by 3x plus 2. And you should get 6x squared plus 4x. Okay. Okay. Flip the signs. Always flip the signs. Positive to negative, positive to negative. And I know I got to erase the plus sign to make it truly a negative here. Let's try that again. Yep. So 0x squared and then negative 9x. Right, so negative 5x plus negative 4x. Yep, negative 9x. And then minus 6, right? That's round 3, right? Or no, that was round 2. Round 3, we divide the negative 9x by the 3x. And now we just get negative 3. Okay, so far? I'll leave that. So step 2 is to multiply negative 3 times 3x plus 2. So you get negative 9x minus 6. Flip the signs, right? They're both negative. Change them to positive. Right? And when you add, you get negative 9x plus 9x is 0x. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. And 0 plus 0 is 0. So here we get a remainder of 0. In other words, it divides evenly, right? So in this case, the answer is just the quotient, right? X squared plus 2x minus 3. So So hopefully that's what you got. Right. Or, well, okay, so you could write plus 0 divided by 3x plus 2, but 0 divided by anything is 0. So this is essentially not necessary here. So I would write this just as x squared plus 2x minus 3. If you include plus 0 over 3x plus 2, right? So that's not wrong, it's just not necessary because you're just adding 0. Right? Adding 0 to anything doesn't change it, right? Okay, so hopefully that's what you got, or at least you can figure out where you went wrong, right? Again, there's very easy to make little mistakes here, especially when you're adding, if you don't flip the sign, or if you flip the sign and then you subtract or something, it gets confusing. So you just got to get used to it. It takes a while. All right, I think we can do one more. I'll let you try one more of these. All right. Divide 8x cubed plus 14x squared minus 39x plus 15 by 4x minus 3. Okay, so remember how you have to set this up. It's a long division problem. The 4x minus 3 is the divisor. It goes on the outside. On the inside, we have 8x cubed plus 14x squared minus 39x plus 15. Right, no zeros here, no missing terms. All right. Well, step 1 is to divide by the 8x cubed by the 4x. Right? So 8x cubed divided by 4x is just 2x squared. So that's the first term of the quotient. Step 2, multiply the 2x squared times the 4x minus 3, and that should give you 8x cubed minus 6x squared. Let's try that again. All right, flip the signs, right? So step 3 is to flip the signs and add. Right? So when we do that, we get 0x cubed, right, plus 20x squared, right? Not 8x squared, right? 20x squared. If you got 8x squared, you made that same mistake. Very easy to do if you forget to flip the signs, right? So be careful. 20x squared minus 39x plus 15. Okay. That's step 3. So that's round 1. Round 2 is to divide 20x squared by 4x. Right. So it's just 5x. Right. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, multiply the 5x times the 4x minus 3. So that's going to be, remember, this is 0. We don't need that here. That's going to be 20x squared minus 15x. Right? That's what you get when you distribute. All right, so flip the signs and add. So this positive 20x squared becomes a negative. The negative 15x squared becomes a positive. Right, so we're going to get 0x squared, and then negative 39x plus 15x. I think it's going to be negative 24x, right? And then plus 15. Okay, so that's round 2. Back to step 1. Step 1 is to take the negative 24x and divide by 4x. And that's just negative 6, right, because the x's cancel. So that means we're on our last round, negative 6. And step 2, we multiply negative 6 times 4x minus 3. So to get negative 24x plus 18. Right. Again, flip the signs and add. So change the plus to a minus, or change the minus to a plus for the first term, and then change the plus to a minus for the second term. All right, so negative 24x plus 24x is 0x. 15 plus negative 18 is negative 3. So that's our remainder, negative 3. And this is our quotient, right? 2x squared plus 5x minus 6. So, right, so our final answer should be 2x squared plus 5x minus 6 plus negative 3 divided by 4x minus 3. Right. So that's how this works, right? This, again, this is not easy. It takes getting used to, but just go step by step, round by round, right? In this case, we had 3 rounds we had to get through. Each of those had 3 steps, right? But yeah, I don't think they're going to get any more difficult than this in the homework. Just remember, you might have missing terms in some of them. If you have a missing term, 0, you should include that as well. And so, all right, maybe we'll do one more. All right, last one. Yeah, this is the one I wanted to do earlier. I think this was supposed to be our third example. So it might look familiar, right? Except I think I changed a few of the terms here. All right, so let's write this out as a long division problem. The 3x minus 4 is the divisor, and the dividend is 6x cubed minus 17x squared, all right, plus 0x plus 16, right? So we're missing the x term here. So we need the 0x as our placeholder. Okay, step 1, right? Divide 6x cubed divided by 3x. Right, and part of that should look familiar. This is just 2x squared, right? All right, step 2, multiply 2x squared times 3x minus 4. And you should get 6x cubed minus 8x squared. Flip the signs and add. So when we add, we get 0x cubed, and then we're going to get negative 9x squared. All right, so that was step 3, but that's just round 1, right? So now for round 2, oh, I forgot to bring down the 0x and the 16. Right, so round 2, step 1, we're going to divide the negative 9x squared by the 3x. Remember, we don't have to write the 0x cubed. So negative 9x squared divided by 3x is just negative 3x. So that's the next term of our quotients. Okay, so that's our step 1. Step 2, take the negative 3x and multiply by 3x minus 4, the divisor, right? So when you distribute, you get negative 9x squared, and then plus 12x. Right. Flip the signs and add. So the negative 9x squared becomes a positive 9x squared. The positive 12x becomes a negative 12x. And then when you add, you get, again, 0. 0x squared is 0. And 0x plus negative 12x is negative 12x. Okay, that's round 2. So back to step 1. So round 3, step 1, take the negative 12x, divide by the 3x. Okay, so that's just negative 4. So step 2, multiply negative 4 times 3x minus 4, and you should get negative 12x plus 16. And so this is looking good, right? When you flip the signs here, right, change the plus to a minus, so negative 16. Yep, you add these up and you get 0 again. So again, once again, the remainder is 0. And again, that's pretty rare. You don't always get a remainder of 0. We've seen examples where you get a non-zero remainder. Right? But then this is the quotient. And so that would be your answer, right? So either way, 2x squared minus 3x minus 4. Right. Just don't forget the 0x as your placeholder. All right. All right, hopefully that'll do it. There's plenty more examples in the homework, so try as many of those as you can, and that should help you for the test. All right, good luck.